All right, Facebook family, it's 9 o'clock on the dot. He's here in the house, Mr. Andre Washington. Yeah, this time for Pajama Praise, 9 o'clock on Monday. Quick word of prayer, and then we're going to get into our interview session with the music mogul, Mr. Andre. We got a lot to cover tonight. So let us bow for a word of prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you for your grace and your mercy, Lord. We thank you for your kindness. We thank you for one more day. Father, we thank you for being our God and our keeper, Lord. In life, you're our God. Even in death, you're our God. And so we just thank you, Lord, that we have a God that we can depend on. Father, we pray for those that are going through a period of bereavement during this time, Lord. Father, we know that you are a keeper. Father, you'll keep us in perfect peace. And so, Lord, we just say thank you, Lord, again for being our God. In the name of Jesus, we pray, amen. Amen. And so, listen, our special guest, Mr. Andre Washington, is in the house with us tonight. Andre, tell everybody hello.
What up?
Yeah, you know, Andre is the comedian. So he's here with us tonight. And listen, y'all, some of y'all have started a Pajama Praise Facebook page. And so if I send you an invite, go ahead and accept the invite on the Pajama Praise Facebook page, okay? And so listen, Mr. Andre Washington.
Yes, sir.
Tell us where you were born, sir.
Fort Worth, Texas.
Fort Worth, Texas.
Born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas.
All right.
Monty Moselle and Clarence Joseph Washington. Grew up in the Riverside area.
All right.
Graduated from IMT High School.
All
As a trumpet player.
As a trumpet player.
As a trumpet player.
Okay.
And played trumpet and tuba.
But now wait a minute. Let's back up. Now you went to school before you got to Terrell. Where'd you go to grade school?
It was Riverside Elementary.
Okay.
Now it's Mercy L. Williams.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I went to I.M. Junior High.
Okay.
And then we stayed over there to the...
So where was I.M. Terrell Junior High?
On the first floor of I.M. High School.
Oh, okay.
That's why there was so many kids there. It was, almost 3,000 students there.
Oh,
when
wow.
You put the junior high, which I'll call middle school, and then the senior high there. It was quite an experience. Quite an experience.
Wow.
A good experience. Let me put it like that. It was a good experience.
So last week we had Miss Sarah Walker here with us.
Riverside girl too.
Yeah. Well, she didn't call it Riverside. She gave it another name.
The bottom.
Yeah.
Rock Island Bottom.
Rock Island Bottom. Yeah.
That was before I was born. I just read about it.
Okay. But was it the same community though? Was Riverside and Rock Island Bottom the same community?
When you came out of downtown on 3rd Street where St. James is,
right.
From there right on through, it was the Bottoms, and then when they put the freeway through there, it broke everything up, and then it became Riverside on the other side of the Trinity River.
Okay. We got your friend on watching with us tonight, Miss Veronica Fulton.
Hey, Ronnie.
Yeah, listen, man, Veronica is a great supporter. She's been with us since day one. I really appreciate her support, too. So many others are on with us tonight. Again, we have Mr. Andre Washington on with us tonight. And so Andre grew up in Riverside. I used to hear him talk about growing up in Riverside. He's a proud Riversideite. So who are some of the people, some of the musicians and singers that grew up with you over there?
We all river rats, man. That's what we called ourselves, river rats. Milton Pace.
Yeah.
Started playing there. Bobby Baylor.
Okay.
Let me see, who else can I think of? JC played at churches in Riverside back in the day. You have to include I.M. Turl because people went to school there that lived in Grapevine and Mosher Valley. Great musicians like King Curtis. If you know who he is.
I don't.
Well, look him up. Dewey Redmond, these are jazz guys. These guys all come through I Am Turtle High School,
Okay.
where Mr. Baxter was a great musician and a band director.
Okay.
And upon his retirement, Charles Watts
Okay.
took over, and after Turtle closed, he went to Eastern Hills.
Right.
I owe it all to you, Mr. Watts. If you're looking, every time you would encourage me, you would beat me up and do what you have to do, and I owe a lot to him.
Okay.
As far as learning music.
Yeah.
I didn't learn gospel first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were learning the blues and jazz?
I was learning to play symphonic music.
Oh, okay.
And jazz.
Okay. Symphonic music. All right.
It ain't nothing to learn with blues. They only use 4 chords. So.
Right. Yeah, I heard of Mr. Watts. The 3 familiar. Well, there are a lot of familiar names I heard from Terrell. Miss Trezevad, choir director.
She wouldn't let me in the choir.
She wouldn't let you in the choir.
She said I didn't have no talent. She was right.
Oh wow! You think she was? Well,
I know she only wanted to be in the choir because there was a girl in there I wanted to get close to. So.
Oh wow! So she knew your game. Huh?
Well, I don't know if she knew my game, but she saw the result.
Yeah. So history is gonna say otherwise, you know. And so you went to Terrell, and so you say trumpet was your first instrument?
Actually, trombone was my first instrument. I started playing it in like the 3rd or 4th grade. The problem with trombone, I'm a big guy now, but I wasn't then. I was a short, stocky fella. I couldn't reach the 7th position on trombone.
Okay.
And then they took me off of there, and I started playing tuba. Mr. Watts needed a first chair trumpet one year. I went and played that with guys that, like we were talking about, Stephen Montgomery came out of Riverside.
Yes.
He had an older brother named Gary, was a great trumpet player. I came into first trumpet, in the band behind Gary. People like that watched this thing, like Ronald Suddies, I know you on there.
Okay.
And these were just great musicians.
Right.
Guy named Anthony Crenshaw came a year after I was over. Do you know Big Jack Williams?
Yeah, I know Jack.
Jack was came after I did. I handed him the first chair trumpet.
Okay.
Yeah. And we just all because of Mr. Watts. He was he was a wonderful musician, but he was a great mentor. There was plenty of ways to get in trouble. But,
So one year I remember we were getting ready for some event, and they were trying to put a little band together, and Jewel Kelly said, somebody said, we need a trumpet player. She said, call Andre. I said, Andre is an organ and a piano player. But that's when I found out you actually played trumpet.
Yeah. That was that was a minute ago. I remember what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And I mean, I never could play it growing up in church because they wasn't ready for that then. But as we moved along, I'll tell you the story how I got into playing organ and keyboard whenever you're ready.
Oh, we ready? We're ready.
I was a good trumpet player, and I played with everybody. What we call the Chitlin circuit.
Okay.
That's the South. Anything below the Mason-Dixon line, y'all don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
Cotton country.
Yeah.
But I had the great opportunity to play with people that you won't even remember, like Bobby Bland. You wouldn't even know that. Johnny Taylor.
Yeah.
Sam and Dave.
I didn't know that.
Hold On, I'm Coming.
Okay, yeah.
Isaac Hayes.
Yeah.
These people like that, and you learned a lot. And I did that for a couple of 3, 4, maybe a little longer years. And I just woke up one morning and just didn't want to do it anymore.
Okay.
The lifestyle wasn't ever
good
for me. And I woke up one morning, so I went and bought a Fender Rhodes 88 key suitcase.
Yeah, that heavy one.
Yeah. Now, I could play certain things on piano because as a trumpet player, you had to know how to read treble clef.
Right.
As a tuba player, you had to read bass clefs.
Right.
You know, and the timing signatures and the expressions are all the same.
Right.
But just got up and I started playing to the James Cleveland album.
Okay.
Till I learned all the songs on that.
Okay.
And then started playing some more. And
so who were your keyboard influences growing up?
I didn't have any. I was a trumpet player.
Okay.
But growing up, when I started playing keyboard, I was about 22. I didn't start young like you guys.
Oh,
22,
okay.
23. I was stuck on organ players. I don't know why.
Okay.
But Jimmy Smith.
Jimmy Smith, yeah.
Brother Jack McDuff.
Okay.
And my favorite of all time, Billy Preston.
Yeah.
And those were the guys that I listened to.
Reverend Joe Foster said you were his organist.
At Greater Friendship, that was one of the first real churches that I played for that actually would give me money.
Okay.
You know, they would, they bring you over to play for a musical or something like that, and they give you a bottle of high karate and some handkerchiefs. And I was happy to get it. I just wanted to play.
Right.
And I had a great time working for Reverend Joe Foster. Friendship had a choir.
Oh yeah.
I tell you,
Oh
had
yeah.
a choir.
Oh
All
yeah.
them Pace,
Right.
the
Shirley
Shirley Pace was in there, the Roberts, and all those people were in there, and we had a great time.
Oh yeah, man, we used to flock over there for y'all's musicals and your afternoon services, you know.
3 o'clock service. They don't know nothing about that no more. They don't know 3 o'clock service. Sometimes you would go to 3 o'clock service just to hear the choir.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why we were coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had a great time there, and I'm always indebted to Reverend Foster because as I was learning, getting pretty good at playing it, he sat down and played sometime, and I learned his style of music. He always played the organ, but he was a better piano player than me than an organist. Now, I don't, well, let me not say I don't play piano.
Right.
I'm an organ player who can play piano.
Right.
And,
Wilhelmina Gale said hello, Andre.
hey, girl.
Valerie said hello, Andre. Valerie Campbell.
They dragged them all out.
Belinda Smith is. Man, we got Rob Alves on with us tonight, man.
Robert Alves played with me at Pickleback.
Yeah, man. So I think that's when so now the first time I heard you play, it was either at Greater Friendship or it was at a musical down at New Hope Baptist Church. You were the guest organist.
Okay.
So
I don't remember. That's one of 1,000 places.
well, that was in the early '80s. Gina Holmes is on with us tonight. She said, "Hey, Andre."
From Worth Hills.
All right, Pastor Darrell Blair is with us tonight.
I knew Darrell Blair before he knew who he was. I went to school with his mom.
Yeah.
And
Sister Mary is our sweetheart. That's one of my favorite people ever.
Mary Brand. I'll tell you a little secret. Don't believe the TV shows and the stuff that say Kurt grew up in Dallas. Kurt grew up in Riverside.
Right.
He took piano lessons from Finest and Miss Langston and some other people over there. There's a lot of musicians. Something in the water over there.
Sure. So you tooting the Riverside horn.
Big time. I ain't never nobody else. Never anywhere else growing up.
Yeah, I know several musicians that came out of Riverside and just
Tyrone Carter. And it was just encouraged. You were encouraged. There were a lot of music teachers that lived in that area.
Okay.
So you could always get somebody to teach you how to play piano,
right.
Which I did for about 2 years, but they hit me on my hands all the time.
Really? So who were your piano instructors?
Miss Langston was my piano teacher, and she didn't have a lot of faith in me as a piano player because she would give, you know how you come in when you play your music, then she'd tell you what you're going to do next week, and she'd play it for you, and I'd play it back to her. And she didn't appreciate that. And I learned a lot from her. I learned to hold my hands up
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's why she hit me all the time. But we went on. Then I stopped playing piano and stuck with the brass instruments.
So you were around during the time of Timmy Sims, Bobby Brooks.
Yeah, I was young, and I never knew Bobby Brooks very well.
Okay.
But Timmy Sims, I used to go hear him after hours in the club, to be honest with you.
Right.
And the man would sit there and just turn the organ into toothpicks,
Right.
just burn it up.
Right.
And I'd just be sitting there looking at him, and he would show me a thing or two about registrations and stuff like that.
Right.
But probably I put him up there with Billy Preston.
So you know what? One of the things I learned, and this blew my mind. So Dwight Taylor told me that Charles Nix and Timmy Sims were friends. They had gone to college together.
Yeah, Wilberforce.
Yeah, and Charles Nix came to town one time, and he and Timmy hung out, and Dwight was able to be around them, you know. Yeah. And, you know, Charles Nix, man, one of the greats in gospel music, you know.
Great church organ player.
Yeah.
Great church organ player.
So listen, Yolanda Holmes Franklin is on with us. She says, hi.
What's going on, Yodi?
Both ex-Greater Worth Hill musicians.
Yeah,
that's right. That's Greater Worth. Well, Worth Hill was my home church. You were at Greater Worth Hill. I was at Worth Hill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where was? Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know.
In the old church. Yeah. But listen, so tell us about your music career. I mean, we know you were a trumpet player and organist and pianist, but you have another side of you, music. Tell us about the other side.
It's the other side that I actually prefer. I don't like being out front. I like being a producer.
Mm-hmm.
And people say, what does a producer do? Producer makes the trains run on time.
Right.
Make sure all the instruments, the music is together and that kind of thing. And live events, I love producing them, make them go. It's just another side of things to do.
Sure.
If they didn't need an organ player, maybe they needed somebody to make sure the lighting was right or something like that. And I got into that because I worked in that area when I was doing R&B, and I learned a lot about stage presence and things of that nature. It's all what God had in store, because based upon me, he should have killed me a long time ago.
No,
I'm just telling you the truth. Should have killed you too. Yeah. So, but we weren't protected.
Yeah, we were covered under the blood.
Covered under the blood.
Yeah.
So he gave me a chance to do different things with everybody in gospel music in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, and primarily working with my KHV Mass.
Right.
I worked for the station at that time, and we came up with the idea to do that. It was we couldn't call it the KHV Mass because of FCC problems at the time. So we called it the Heaven 97 Metropolitan Radio Choir, the longest name for choir ever. I had a great time.
So you know what I remember? So one Sunday night, you were having a program, and you asked me to come and play on this program you were having in Arlington at Community.
Martin Weber's church.
Yeah. Well, what I didn't know is you were doing a recording that night.
Oh, yeah.
I played on a recording that I had not rehearsed with y'all on. It was a really good recording.
Yeah.
That y'all did some stuff, and and that's when I knew you were really into the production side of music.
I thought you learned it when I first noticed you as a musician. Really noticed you when I brought my truck out and we did Tommy Brown up at Harvey Avenue when he recorded his album.
Oh, okay.
during that period. And
Well, see, that had to have been after.
probably, when I say when I noticed you.
Yeah.
When I began to notice you.
Yeah.
You were a youngster
Right.
when you came.
Oh, no. You knew me way before then, because I'm going to tell you how you knew me. Rodney introduced me to you.
Oh, boom.
And so, you know, I would come in and sit in with you and Steve and Rodney and Byron at Pilgrim Valley, because back then, man, you were doing some incredible stuff. I mean, let me see, who did you bring in? Milton Bigham, you brought him several times.
I met Milton to a fellow named Johnny, who was a neighbor of mine, and he worked for Delta Airlines, but he was in the Army with Milton.
Okay.
And Milton was down visiting one time, and I said, man, you gotta come back, because he was just really starting in gospel too.
Okay.
And he had to come back, so I used to bring him to Pilgrim Valley all the time.
Right.
I brought CC and BB Winans when nobody knew who they were.
Right.
They were singing for Jim Baker and the PTL singers at that time. Dorothy Norwood come out of the Caravans. Of course, we had the King of Gospel in here a number of times, and James Cleveland.
Right.
Timothy Wright. Everybody that had a record out in between 1975 and 1995 came through Fort Worth, and that was a great working experience.
Yeah, I know. So I was able to participate when you brought Milton Bigham.
You played.
Yeah,
you played
BB and CC. They brought their own musicians, but we did some songs before they did.
Yeah.
And then when you brought, we call her Reverend in the convention, Reverend Cleveland, to the convention center.
Yeah. Wow. I forgot about that one. We opened up for him, and then we had him again at Will Rogers.
Right.
And we got a chance to sing for him that time, and I got a chance to play for him. So I had done that several times. You probably don't. You might remember when the Gospel Music Workshop national board meeting was in Fort Worth at Carter Metropolitan.
I was too young.
You were too young. Everybody was there.
Right.
A great time.
Right. And that event actually put Fort Worth on the map with GMWA, because years later they were still talking about it. You know.
Yeah. Well, Fort Worth got singers.
Mm-hmm.
Fort Worth got musicians. Mm-hmm. I always have had. Now I want to give you a little piece of history that you didn't know. Mm-hmm. Who started the first workshop chapter in Fort Worth?
Who is that?
You want to guess? 3 fellas. Yellow Rivers.
Okay.
A fellow named Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, Isaiah Thomas. Yeah, I know him well. Okay.
We started. We had a monster choir.
Okay.
A monster choir, and we did a lot of singing. We went to Kansas City to the workshop, and just like, it was just fun.
Right.
It was fun stuff to do, but nobody knew what the Gospel Music Workshop was in this area. Right. And nobody had been, so we just put the thing together and worked on it till we got where we great musicians, UL and Isaiah.
Right. Yeah, man, Isaiah Thomas, man, we talked about him a couple of weeks ago, man. He was just a guy before his time. I mean, I think he started writing in GMWA. Yeah. Some of his music they did, and he was sort of like a Tommy Brown, just gifted, and people didn't really know him, but putting out incredible songs.
Oh yeah, he like me. He didn't want to be out front, and so he would let other people do his songs, and that's kind of the way. But like I said, musicians here,
right,
of all stripes,
right. And I think that's one of the things that that's what Pajama Praise is about. The unsung heroes, because people don't know how we got to this point. We're here. But somebody brought us here. Somebody paved the way. Somebody had done some things before, some good things and some bad things before we got here. But whatever the case may be, we ought to honor those who helped us to get to where we are.
You don't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been.
Where you've been, yeah. I mean, we've had some incredible, not only musicians but singers in here that wasn't on anyone's album, but would sing you up out of here.
People your age don't remember Francine Reese Morrison.
Oh yeah, I remember.
She sung for presidents, governors, everything. Had a great voice. Went from contralto to first soprano and back.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Macedonia.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew that.
That
Macedonia.
Brown?
It was with the real Macedonia.
Yeah.
It was on Crawford Street.
Okay, yeah.
And then we moved up into the building on Morningside Drive. We had great singers.
I never knew that.
Valerie Johnson played the piano.
Yeah.
This may be not a name you know, Johnny Cole.
Yeah, I heard that name,
Johnny Cole played there. Leesta Moody, she was up here from Austin going to school.
Okay.
Just took her shoes off, played barefooted, and ate that organ up.
Oh, wow.
And I would sit there and look at her. And we had great singers like Alma Marie Townsend, a contralto.
Okay.
Isabella Reddick is, Cheryl, if you're looking, I'm talking about your mom.
Okay.
One of the great sopranos.
Yeah.
Helen Mundy.
Yes.
Great sopranos and stuff like that. It's never been a shortage of here.
Right.
Musicians here.
Right. And Helen Mundy, man, she and one of my favorite musicians of all time, Miss Carol Jean Brown, worked together.
Yeah.
Miss Carol Jean Brown took me to my first Margaret DeRoe workshop.
Okay.
I had started playing, and she lived around the corner from us, and she said, "Boy, you need to be exposed. You need to come to this workshop." And so I walked around her house, and she took me to Rising Star, and there was the Margaret DeRoe workshop.
Is that the first time she came here? Because most times she was at Mount Olive.
Yeah, I think that was the first time she came. They started.
Was Ernestine on the organ?
She was, and you know who else I saw there and did not meet them until later was Charles and Linda Mitchell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Charles and Linda Mitchell.
Great writers,
Mr. Dwight Taylor. You know, just so many musicians that came through here. And so, you know, you were one of the ones that brought a lot of the gospel greats in. And so how were you able to secure those people?
I worked for a radio station, KHVN at that time. Those people always wanted to sell music in this area. Okay. So Drew Dawson and I put our head together with Warren Brooks, and we came up with, first we had to get the radio choir going. Okay. Because most of the acts came down just them. Okay. And we sung with them, and it just grew and grew, and it just kept going. And I think it was a good portion of the history of gospel music and football. Sure. All those people came to. I remember bringing Richard Smallwood here when nobody knew who he was. And then I had him back several times after he got big. Right. Richard, if you're looking, I know you're my friend on Facebook. Hey, man. But it's just, Fort Worth has been a blessed place. It's never been a big gospel town like Chicago or Detroit. Because those people in Detroit, they moved to Detroit to sing gospel. Okay. It all started with C.L. Clarence Levon Franklin and his daughter. Right. And other people that came on, Charles Nix that came into there later on. Right. The Craig brothers. Right. You remember the Craig brothers? Oh, yeah, they came here. Did you bring them here? Yeah, Charles and Lindsey Craig. Yeah. And we had a ball with all those people. Mm-hmm. They came down here, and then we'd fry fish on Friday night. Remember when people used to have singings on Friday night, and you could smell that fish in the back, good old days. I can't even think of all the people that come through. You probably got more names than I can remember.
Well, yeah, but man, listen, I know that back in the 80s, 90s, man, you were bringing them here heavily. It was like they either came to Pilgrim Valley, the convention center,
Yeah.
or Will Rogers.
Yeah. Well, they wanted to come. I wanted them to come here, and I just went to work and tried to make
you know
that
what? We don't really see a whole lot of that
Well, the music
nowadays.
don't. Let me say this, and this is going to really upset some people.
Say it.
Gospel music is dead. Choir gospel music is dead.
Why do you think that is?
Crazy. But it's dead because you had to write second verses to the gospel, and you had to know SATB. Now, you non-musicians, I'm talking about soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. And now music is praise and worship. We are doing what historically the white church has done for years. And the white church is doing our music.
Okay.
Most of the musicians are black.
Okay. Yeah.
Joel's church down
Yeah.
there. So, it's just a big switch.
Right.
We've kind of left our heritage.
So this is one of the things I said this one week. So I kind of fault us for that because one of the things Reverend Foster said when he was here, he said we had a standard.
Yeah.
We had a standard. And I think, as some of the older musicians passed away or just got tired of fooling with us, musicians came that could hit some licks, and, excite people. And so, the standard was lowered to accommodate that. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
He's right. Because everybody, when we grew up playing, everybody could read music. You couldn't get near a piano and organ unless you can read to some degree.
Right.
You can read the hymns.
Right.
In some cases, play the anthem. Contemporary music came around. Everybody's playing every chord that they know in one song.
But wait. Now, you were one of the musicians that ushered contemporary music in.
I'm an old gospel music.
No.
I'm a rusty ankle.
No, man. Listen, man. No, you were one of the ones that helped usher the new contemporary sound. I know because I played with you, and you and Steve and them.
Contemporary music, different music in church. When I on the first and third Sundays at Sweet Home, played for the youth choir, young adult choir, and we did.
Hey, Katrina Bryan Dawson.
Hey, baby. I bet you wish you was back in Fort Worth. But me and Bound and Rodney, and I can't remember who was on piano. It wasn't Stephen. I got fired at Sweet Home for playing for the choir marching into Parliament.
Okay.
If you hear any noise, it's just me and the Lord getting down. They didn't like that.
Okay.
And nobody used drums and bass back then.
Right.
And but I don't think I played the contemporary music. I had somebody come to me the other day and said, "You still playing all them weird chords?" They old school.
No, they weren't. They were contemporary. Y'all weren't all the way contemporary, but you were the bridge from traditional to what we call contemporary now.
Well,
you and Tony Wilbur.
Tony Wilbur played more contemporary than I did.
Bill Thompson, he was here with us.
Tony played with me at Greater Friendship. We had fun down there.
Yeah. Y'all down there killing, man.
Huh?
So y'all were down there killing, yeah.
We had fun, man. Church music ought to be fun.
Right.
It ought to be fun.
Right.
And you ought to enjoy doing it because you have to sell it to people.
Right.
You understand? When those people sitting in the audience, they there to hear and to be sold.
So Julia Kathy Steptoe said the skill of music today is dependent on technology, That's part true because back then, before there was what they call it, transpose.
Yeah.
You better knew how to play in every key.
Every key.
Yeah.
Now you might play it in some of them better than others, but
Right.
you knew how to play in every key.
Every key.
Everything is transposed now. The singers can't sing because they auto-tune them up to death.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And a fella that just passed, one of my heroes growing up, Jack J.C. Carter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just buried him this past Saturday. J.C. could play anything. I knew him when he was young, when he used to play anthems with no music, and that type of thing. J.C. called the music, he named this a few years ago, he's doing today as 7-11 music. 7 words, 11 times. And I'm not against any of that.
Right.
I just wish they had kept hold to traditional gospel music. With New Jerusalem, Jeffrey, in Flint, Michigan, when you did Show Me the Way and those kind of songs. We missed that. And I'm going to tell you why we missed it.
Okay.
We lost a whole generation of musicians between 1980 and 2000.
Right, we did.
A whole generation.
Right.
Most of those people could read,
Right.
and they understood traditional music.
Right.
Now everybody wants to play every song, every chord they know in every song.
Right. So we had Miss Flo Green, Timmy Sims, Miss Carol Jean Brown, Miss Helen Monday. Just
Ed Cole out at
Pleasant McGillis.
Yeah. And just fun musicians. What people don't realize that Timmy and Flo were world-renowned jazz organists.
Right.
And Timmy never took a dime from Charlotte. And Flo was just as good as Timmy. And it's just times change. You got to change with them.
Right.
I don't think it'll ever change back. I think gospel's dead.
Well, I think so. So I think that we have to start. You know what? I didn't appreciate hymns until later years, and when I really started appreciating hymns is when I went to Rising Star, and Travis Williams did like a variety of hymns. I mean, some incredible hymns. And they did them well, and so therefore I gained an appetite for hymns.
Same thing with me. A little later in life, as I moved on to get into gospel music, I'm gonna tell you who turned me on to him and insisted I play with Ureta Hamilton. She said, "I'm gonna direct this morning. You need to play the hymn.
Okay.
Can you play it?" And I showing off, sit down and played it in 3 different keys and went back to a regular key. Said, "Oh, you're gonna play from now on." And I had to learn probably 75 or 80 hymns.
Right.
And I appreciate that.
Right.
Appreciate that.
And I think you who else? I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about eating. I was telling them that I learned to appreciate some foods because that's what my grandmother cooked.
Yeah.
She cooked greens and dressing, and we ate hamburgers as kids with lettuce, tomatoes, and onions.
Cooked at home.
Yeah. And a lot of kids today, when they eat they wouldn't dare put onions on a burger, But we gained that appetite because we were exposed to that. And so here's a challenge to you. You're still one of the movers and shakers of the area. You need to help. You hear me order your rail. You need to help go to that appetite again. And so one of the things that we've, Sister Cornice Wells and me and some of the other musicians, we do a yearly hymn fest.
I went to your first one.
Okay. And so that's one of the things that we're going to continue to do to bring the hymns back where the young, and it's for the old people to enjoy, but for the young people to learn. Because a lot of these great hymns will be lost.
And you don't have to do it just like the book.
Mm-hmm.
You can put your own stuff in there if you want to.
Right, right.
And I grew up on listening to hymns in Macedonia, and I grew up listening to gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And I never did like the anthems because they were too rigid for me back then. But I learned to appreciate the anthems over time.
True.
When I say gospel is dead, gospel that you hear, there's no record labels doing gospel anymore.
Right,
And
right.
that hurt us more than anything.
Right.
They all want groups. They don't want choirs anymore.
Right.
It's just,
And so what are that's one of the things that I knew back in the day. You were involved with the record labels, Savoy and Malaco and Light. So what's going on with that right now?
nothing.
Okay.
No, absolutely nothing.
Do they still exist?
Yeah. Light, I want to say Ricky Dillard is on Light, but I may be wrong. There are people still involved in the business. I want to say this to you. Those were record labels. They went out and they sought talent.
Okay.
On Sunday morning.
Okay.
They could hear you singing on Sunday morning, and Ed or some of those other guys would slip you a card and say, call me. And next thing you know, you recording the album. That's the way they did.
Okay.
Every community choir just about recorded an album.
Right.
And there are no more community choirs.
Right.
Don't know why. Well, I do know why, but don't know how we could ever get it started again.
Okay.
It's just when I work with labels, I learn label work from Blue Note, Chess Records. These are Stax.
Okay.
Never did get to go to Motown, but
Okay.
Stax Records and those people. And you learn how they did it, and you learn in the studio.
Okay.
And here's a studio that you probably never heard of. You ever heard of Muscle Shoals?
Yeah.
Muscle Shoals, Alabama?
Yeah.
All those great hits off of Stax came out of there.
Okay.
All Aretha's first albums came out of there.
Yeah.
Cornice, if you on here, they should have called you when Aretha died. I always said that, but they didn't. I'll get over it. But you know, it's a thing, man.
So Tomasa Hall told me to ask you why you feel contemporary musicians don't like to play the hymns.
They can't play the hymns.
Okay.
They can't read.
Okay.
I know I'm.
Right.
It's not going to be fun to some of these people, but
Right. And Sheila says, I thank God for learning hymns and traditional gospel music, and so Sheila Bryce is one of the ones that was able to, come over to the contemporary side too, even though she grew up on traditional music and she can do it well, but if she had to, she could do the contemporary too.
Well, when Sheila was singing with Kirk, he was still writing gospel music. This ain't gospel no more. That he writes now. I ain't mad at it.
Right.
He's not doing anything right. He's just doing what the natural progression is.
Right.
But Sheila grew up a flat-foot singer out there in Como.
Right.
With Afro puffs.
Right. I remember you playing in the musicals over at the community center.
Yeah.
And so, listen, we got Dr. Patrick Bradley on with us. He and Dr. Clark Joseph, they're going to be on with us in the coming weeks. And so we are going to talk about the stages of music, from the traditional to the contemporary to beyond. Because after COVID, we're going to have to do things different. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
After COVID, we can go back to doing what we was doing. But during COVID, you have to do different things. You have to, your choir spread out all over, singing through an app and all this type of thing. That won't be the case long term, but I just think we have to get back to our root to make it work, and then include the contemporary with it. I think a blended service is the way to go.
Right.
You got your praise team, you got your praise and worshipers, they do that. Then you bring that big old sweaty choir up and just kill people with that. You know, that type of service. And that's, some churches still do that now. You know, but most of them, they have gone to small praise team because it's easier to manage.
Demetria Campbell said the Lake Como Community Choir still exists. She said we need to record though.
All right, Demetria. Holla at me. Put it like that.
And you know what, man? I would love to see y'all do that. I mean, somebody needs to do a project, you know.
I got one in my head. As soon as I get the money together, I'll do it. But if I ain't dead yet.
So this is one of the things I said this to one of our national musicians. If I could do a recording right here in my house now, the way technology is. So why aren't people doing more recordings? I mean, you could take, what's that program everybody's using now?
Pro Tools.
Pro Tools. Set up some speakers. Put a choir in the choir stand and do a recording.
Well, that's what's going on nowadays. Like, I had one of the big recording trucks.
Right.
You don't really need all that anymore.
Right.
I can walk in with a few cases, a suitcase, and a mic bag and generally record you now. What's missing to me is that live church feel.
Right.
When the audience is talking back to the singer and they singing along with you.
Right.
And you play well. You got all these instruments here, but I bet you enjoy more when it's a church full of people playing.
Well, you know what? This is one of the things. So I was a friend of mine wrote this song. And I heard the song. I had heard the song before, you know, and it just, you know, it was like, okay.
Nice song.
Yeah. Well, I heard it again without all the instrumentation. It was an organ, keyboard, drums, and bass. And man, that song blew me away.
Because you heard the song.
Because I heard the song.
Yeah. You know, it's just things change and they don't always change for the better. We have better instruments than they had back in the day.
Right.
But we had better instrumentalists.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, there's some good musicians around too. But man, you made me think of something. So you remember at Pilgrim Valley, man, you were always doing something at Pilgrim Valley. You know, you bought that Kauai, the electronic Kauai.
Yeah.
Oh man. You know, that was
nobody else had anything like that.
Right. Nobody else had one, you know. And so, man, you were playing that thing and the sound, I mean, because it changed the sound of what we heard.
Yeah.
And then I think you were one of the first ones to have the DX7.
Was I one of the first ones to have that?
Yeah.
I remember having it.
Right.
But I like those things because I'm an organ player and I'm lazy.
Right.
And regular piano, you have to play that thing.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You give me the electric stuff and it's easy.
Right.
I'll fess up, y'all.
See, I caught you in a contradiction. So you were one of the transition musicians, because, man, you were coming out with the new keyboards, the synthesizers. You know, I was, you don't probably don't remember this, when E, what was it, before it was, used to be down on Airport Freeway, the music store.
CNS music.
Yeah, it wasn't CNS then. It was something else.
I know what you're talking about.
I went down there with you when you bought all that equipment at Pilgrim Valley.
All that sound equipment and everything.
Yeah. And so even back then, man, you were moving and shaking, bringing in that new sound.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll fess up. That might be the case. I never thought it. Always thought of myself as a traditional musician.
Veronica said organ can make you lazy. Yeah.
I just said I'm lazy.
Julia Steptoe. It was before Mr. Ease. It was called something else back then. But man, I went with you that day. You went in there and bought new speakers, a new board, a new keyboard, and we spent several days. I was just hanging out with y'all,
trying to get that thing installed.
Get it installed, yeah. And so those were the days, man. One of the things I wrote in my notes that that you are one of the true trailblazers. Because you influenced a lot of musicians. The other week when Bill Thompson was over, he talked about you, him playing with you and you being an influence. Who were some of the other musicians you influenced?
I have no idea. I just walk in and play, go home, maybe listen. A young man came up to me and he didn't look to be more than about 20, 25 years old. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Man, I've always loved to hear you play." Mm-hmm. I said, "You ain't been alive for 15 minutes, will you?" And he said, "In your left hand, you're doing the bass up there when nobody else is doing that."
Right.
And the style. So I appreciate that. Right. I try to treat people fairly. Right. I try to make myself available. Right. And I do want to throw this in. I am available to sing on your musical if you want me to sing. Me and Glenn will do a duet.
Yeah,
anybody want that? You want that, Veronica? But it's you just do your best, and somebody will hear. Your music will make a way for you. Your talent. Right. People have been saying that scripture that for years, and it's so true. Sure. And some people are born to do this. Some people are doing that. Born to do that. Kirk Franklin is a genius.
True.
The genius.
True.
He didn't have nothing to do with getting what he got.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
He had everything to do with expanding it and making it better.
Right.
But Kirk was put on this earth to do what he's doing.
Right.
The Hawkins.
Right.
They were waiting for me doing stuff.
Right.
And it's a God thing. Some people he put the special thing in, and some people give you talents.
Mm-hmm.
Give you talent. Well, you got to use that talent.
Right.
You wouldn't, when you come out the womb, you wasn't playing the organ, the piano. Wasn't even caring about it.
Right.
But over time, things happen, and I thank God for the little talent He gave me and the opportunities He gave me, and a few more years He gonna give me because I got some more stuff I want to do.
Sure.
And it's a blessing, man.
See, one of the this is one of the complaints I have about some of the older musicians, and I'm gonna go look. I'm on live camera, so I'm gonna say it. Mm-hmm. A lot of them did not move. One of the things I can say about you is you moved as the time moved. You moved along with it. You kept moving. Some of the musicians, they stayed and stopped and became stagnant and started complaining. Well, with the way music is going, and so one of the ways we can influence music is bring the tradition along with us, but keep it moving, because time is not going to, you know what, man? So remember, the Kauai piano was king back then.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, everybody had a Kauai Grand.
Either that or Fender Rhodes.
Or Fender Rhodes.
Electrics.
Right.
Yeah.
But most of the churches had a Kauai.
Yeah.
And then one day, somebody came with a Yamaha. And then all of a sudden, man, Yamaha, because one of the things, Yamahas were easier to play. Mm-hmm. Now the Kauai would give you that big fat sound. I mean, it gave you a fat, deep sound. But the Yamaha, man, was a little cleaner, and you didn't have to work so hard.
Those are great pianos, but you ain't lived till you play a Bosendorfer.
Yeah.
You got this whole other piano down here on this.
Right.
I sat down there one day and hit like 2 notes and got up. Ain't nothing I can do with it.
Topsy Mathis said, a great legend, Andre Washington. I agree, Topsy.
Reverend Topsy Mathis. We all started around, well, I started a little before him, but I watched him go from playing with 3 fingers to playing with 12 fingers.
Yeah.
You know, so Topsy, I'm glad to have known you through that time.
So man, I tell everybody, Topsy Mathis, Kermit Wells, and those guys were in my choir. I saw Marcus Gayton on here a few minutes. Marcus Gayton was in our children's choir, and then he started taking piano lessons. Then the next thing I knew, Marcus had started a choir out at Juan Seguin High School, and then he grew up in the ranks. And when I left Pilgrim Valley, one of the things I told him, I said, well, you guys may as well give Marcus an opportunity because somebody else will, Yeah. And so, man, as you were influencing me back in the 80s, I was able to even go on and influence some other people.
Well, you reach back
Mm-hmm.
and give them what you know,
Uh-huh.
and they'll take it to the next level. People that, I don't know if you've ever ran into an organ player when you'd be like at a 3 o'clock service or something, and they get through playing and they don't want you to play the organ. Mm-hmm. They cut it off. You've experienced that before. So, and I won't call names, but that type of thing does not make for a good legacy.
Right.
Right. And I was taught this by a musician. Says when it comes to the organ or piano, it's better to be asked up than asked down.
Right.
And you should be able to look at other people and appreciate their talent.
Sure.
Here's a name that ain't ever come up, Alan Pope.
Yeah.
Alan Pope, great organ player.
Great.
Great organ player. He went on to preach.
Right.
And I used to listen to him.
Right.
I used to listen to his left hand. I don't care what he was doing with the right hand, but I listened to his left hand.
Right.
And people were just, and so many people here.
Right.
And Fort Worth should be a bigger music town than it is.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's doing what it's supposed to do, to the case.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate being here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I was in Chicago, they may not give me a chance to play. So many great musicians up there.
Well, I think, as you were talking, so we did have a camaraderie, because when I came along in the 80s, you were one of the main musicians, Richard Hawkins, Tony Wilburn.
Remember came here, you lived here for a while, Paul Bigham?
Yeah, Paul, yeah. I mean, that's who mentored me over at Harvey Avenue.
Yeah.
Paul Bigham, Alvin Pope, Milton Pace.
Mm-hmm.
We call him old crazy Greg Taylor out in Stop 6.
Yeah.
I mean, that joker could play and sing.
Yeah.
Curtis Cole, remember Curtis Cole?
Curtis Cole.
Yeah. So many, even who else was one of the key musicians back then too? You don't hear much about him anymore. Calvin Lee.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah.
He was in Paradise for a long time.
Yeah. And then Crazy out in Como wore the mink coat, could play in.
Edward?
Not Edward. His name slips my mind, but he was always cutting up, but he could play, Mm-hmm. I mean, and so, there was like a camaraderie of musicians back then.
They always took care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
They took care of each other.
Michael Harris
Michael Harris.
Yeah.
He's in where?
He's in
Shreveport now?
Yeah.
Shreveport. Bernard Brown. Great.
Bernard.
Right. He didn't play,
Right.
but he could write gospel music
Sure.
nobody else. We had fun.
Uh-huh.
And on Sunday afternoons, we might hit 3-4 different musicals.
Right.
I remember 4 Sundays in September. If you remember whose music that was, that's Greater Worth Hill.
Yeah, Greater Worth Hill.
With Annie Margaret
Yeah.
and Cornish people.
Yeah.
We used to stand outside the windows. They let the windows up because we couldn't get in there.
Right.
You know, this has been an interesting ride. And I have more time behind me than I have in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad somebody listened
Sure.
and noticed. I had no idea. All the stuff you bring up, I didn't ever think about
Sure.
legacy or doing anything. I didn't even know you was watching.
Yeah.
You know.
But you know what, man, and I think we can't lose that, because a generation is coming. They don't know. They don't know all the stuff you did, and you say, "Well, I just did it because it was the right thing to do." But it was important because it's a part of history and the legacy.
Yeah.
I mean, because we'll look up, and that part of gospel music, that part of history, not only just Fort Worth music, but music in Texas, music in the nation, will be lost, and they'll be talking about Ty Tribute. Was the founder of gospel music.
Well, people think gospel didn't start until Kirk wrote The Reason Why We Sing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people think gospel started there. Kirk knows better than that.
Mm-hmm.
I introduced Kirk to Milton that got him his first job in the Georgia Mass.
Right.
When he did Joy.
Right.
I saw something in him a long time ago.
Sure.
But
one of the things that we got to give Kirk credit for, man, he did transition gospel music, and now this is what is remarkable. For the past 20 years, Kirk has been the top gospel artist. Now,
when you have true talent,
yeah,
and mainly you're a songwriter,
right,
you always have new material.
Sure.
James Cleveland was a wonderful piano player. People don't know that.
Right.
And he wrote a lot of good stuff.
Right.
And he did it in his time.
Right.
Immediately by the time James died in 92, Kirk started coming on.
Right.
It's always somebody else.
Right.
I remember, I'm going to stop calling him James. Reverend Cleveland
Okay.
said this to a group of us one time. You can run around here trying to be a diva, trying to be a maestro, or refusing to play with certain people, but your replacement was born today.
Right.
And I've watched it over the years.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I've watched it over the years. Ain't nobody stopped playing just because you didn't.
Right.
Ain't no big thing there, but it's a whole world of music to come.
Sure.
Now it may switch back.
Right.
I doubt it.
Well, you know what, man, you're right, because, man, I've had some incredible opportunities because, how to say, the big names didn't think it was that important enough to show up,
Yeah.
And so, I get it, man. Man, I appreciate you, being a role model for me, music, I was watching you when you were at Friendship, when you were at Pilgrim Valley, when I think this was 1982 or 83 or something, heard you down at New Hope. Now this is the thing, I heard that organ played many times at New Hope. But man, when you got on there, I was like, wow, how did he get that sound out of that organ?
I really appreciate you and you're paying attention. I don't even really remember that.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
But you just do what you do, and when ain't nobody at the church and you get the deacon come let you in, and you sit over there on the organ.
Oh yeah.
And you listen to other organ players, and somebody had to show me.
Right.
Timmy and JC encouraged me.
Mm-hmm.
Timmy, here's what Timmy used to say. I said, Timmy, when you show me something, show me this. You don't need no. You play organ already. Just go on and play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Same thing I got from JC. That was encouragement. You know?
Right.
And I regret these fellows eventually had to leave this earth.
Sure.
You know, but that's the way it goes.
So listen, man, we got Bill Thompson is on with us tonight. He said, "Hey, Andre."
Hey, Bill.
Reverend Keith Woodridge said you played for the Voices at UTA.
Yeah. Hey, Keith.
Loretta Hardeman.
Come on, First Baptist.
Yeah. Alma Lofton at Corinth.
Yeah.
We have so many people on. Mr. Kenneth Carr, one of my choir members at Bethany in Dallas, talked about Dwight Taylor.
Yeah.
Because that was his church.
Dwight was a great musician.
Yeah.
I got to play with him maybe 3, 4, 5 times in life.
Mm-hmm.
I was always nervous about playing with him. You know why? Because he was so good.
Oh, yeah.
And very structured.
Oh, yeah.
And he told me, he said, "Oh, you play fine. Come on, play with me."
Yeah.
You know, so, like you said, you never know who's listening.
Vita Powell at Greater St. James.
Yeah, Vienna Powell. She over in Dallas now hiding.
Yeah.
But you from Fort Worth.
Yeah. And so, man, you know, you've done a lot, man. You've impacted a lot of people. And so, man, listen, we're going to bring you over to the organ now, you know. And if you will, come and play some of your favorite hymns, you know. And so we basically do gospel music on this program. I heard you doing a little jazz a little while.
I just warming up.
So come and bring us some gospel music. Listen, y'all, Brother Andre is going to come over to the organ and play a couple of songs
You keep talking
with
to
us.
him while I'm moving.
So Brother Bill Thompson says, talked about Sweet Home back in the day.
Ooh, that's a tricky fight.
Sister Sheila Bryce talked about you playing for their quiet Beth Eden. Yeah.
Yeah. Sheila Bryce, I still have that picture of you with Afro puffs.
Yeah, she talked about that a minute ago. She said you're going to always bring up the Afro puffs. And so he's coming to the organ right now. Y'all stay with us, you know.
What do I do? What do you want me to do, man?
Man, whatever you want to play. Whatever you want to play.
What you want me to play?
I heard you're doing Only What You Do for Christ Will Last. Give us a little bit of that. Pastor Bill Thompson says, we are our Heavenly Father's children.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Them souls were old when I was young.
Sister Carlos Carter, Brother J.C. Carter's daughter-in-law is on with us tonight. Yeah, thank you, Sister Carlos Carter, and you and Reverend Roderick for sharing your father with us. Man, we really miss him.
All right. With that Bill, let's see if I remember that. You want me to do your song first?
Oh, it don't matter. Turn the volume up on the organ.
Oh. Oh, you got 10 good songs. Jack Carter.
Okay.
And I'm going to play this because I'm truly faithful to it.
Okay.
60 years of one church.
All right.
And I wish I could be as faithful as God has been to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say this.
tonight, sir. Sister Andrea Sanders, Miss Alma Lofton. You may build great cathedrals, large, great skyscrapers, grand or tall. You may conquer all the failures of your past, but only what you do for Christ. Yeah. You may build. I don't know the second verse. Just play it. All right.
You want something to come in there?
All right, and so we're going to take it to church right here. Not that we haven't already been to church. All right, listen, y'all. Listen, the maestro has been in the house with us tonight. Listen, Brother Andre Washington, man, we really appreciate you coming through tonight and giving us some history about gospel music. Of gospel. Thank you for paving the way for so many musicians and singers and directors. As I said probably 3 times already, you're one of the true trailblazers. And so what do you want your legacy to be?
Before I talk about my legacy, let me say thank you to somebody that taught me about SATB.
Okay.
And I used to score music with us, Jewel Kelly.
Yeah.
And I didn't know nothing about choir music. I knew band music. And she showed me that and showed me how to do it. Now, I can't direct like her, but I know what she directed about.
Right.
All right, my legacy is, I hope for it to be that I came and I gave it my all, and I got better as a musician over years, and I brought somebody with me and showed them something different.
Mm-hmm.
It's just great to be in this position. I could have wasted it years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Still playing R&B music. All them fellas is dead now.
Mm-hmm.
And I may be dead tomorrow, but I'm here today.
Right.
But I just want you to know that I appreciate you. Those of you who supported me, those of you that looked for me to be what I was when I didn't know what I was.
Right.
And Glenn, I thank you for paying attention.
Sure. Well, thank you for giving me something to pay attention to, man. And so, listen, man, I'm going to ask you, if you will, give us a closing. Give us one of those good Baptist closing songs.
What's a good Baptist closing song?
Whatever y'all do in the Baptist church. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, God be with you. Sister Gwen Taylor, one of your former choir members at Pilgrim Valley, is on with us tonight.
Hey, Gwen.
Hey, Gwen, make sure you tell your mother, Sister Golden Moore, I said hello. right. Thank y'all for joining us tonight for another Pajama Praise. Again, thank you, Mr. Andre Washington.
Thank you for having me.
For taking out your time to come. Thank you, Sheila Bryce, for staying with us. Sister Gwen, Tamesa Hall, so many, Miss Alma Lofton, Miss Dr. Demetria Campbell, Gina Holmes, my homegirl from Greater Worth Hill Baptist Church, Vanessa Washington Allen, Yolanda Holmes Franklin, Veronica Fulton, Kim Robinson, Vanita Blake. So many are on with us tonight. Thank y'all for joining us and staying with us. And thank you for supporting us each week on Pajama Praise. This is not my Pajama Praise, Andre. This is our Pajama Praise. We have a community of people that support this. I want to thank Catrice Reed for supporting this each week, for being a part of this. We're glad to have Pastor Craig Lower Pullamon with us tonight. Reverend Keith Woolrich, one of our educators and one of our youth leaders in the city. Sister Kendra Walker is on with us tonight. Andrea Sanders from PMG, Pleasant Mount Gilead.
They're pulling up all these people.
Miss Alma Lofton, Pastor Joe Foster, great historian. Listen, man, I've got to get you and Pastor Joe Foster together for one of the Pajama Praises. And just so many. Pastor Patrick Diggs was with us tonight. Brother John Jocelyn, one of my choir members from Bethany Baptist Church, is with us. And just so many. Sister Carlos Carter, daughter-in-law of Brother J.C. Carter. Sister Tina Green. Belinda Smith was with us. She may still be with us. Minister music at Bethlehem. Yeah. Just so many. Thank you all so much. Phyllis Roberts is with us. Yeah, Phyllis. Yeah, one of my good friends was Phyllis Roberts, and Gail, she was with us too. Sister Brandy Tutt is on with us. Yeah. Sister Lene Shelton is with us, and so many. Again, thank y'all for joining us. Listen, y'all, we'll see y'all the next time for Pajama Praise. Good night.